It is 10:55, and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Finance and Auditing Committee for Thursday, November 20th, 2025. Before we begin, excuse me, that was rude. I took a bite and then started to talk. Before we begin, please note this meeting is being recorded. Welcome to everyone joining us here in person, as well as those listening on the phone who would like to provide public comment at today's meeting. If you have not already done so, please let Thomas in the back of the room or Justine on the call-in line know what items you'd like to speak on today. Madam Secretary, please begin your call.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone, again. We have 9 directors in the room, so we are a committee. So I'm going to be reading the roll call from the committee, starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Giudice?
Here.
Hernandez?
Here.
Maston?
Here.
Rodoni?
Present.
Vice Chair Parr?
Present.
Chair Rapid's absent. President Concord?
Here.
Thank you. Also in the room is Directors Garbarino, Hill, and Malta-Peters. Director Snyder returns during the meeting. I'll let everyone know we turn into a committee in the hall.
All right, thank you. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located on the bottom right-hand corner of the meeting packet. And we'll begin with agenda item number 3, which is ratification of previous actions by the Auditor Controller. The staff report begins on page 5, and Monique Spike from PFM is here today with us to go over the PFM investment report, which begins on page 9. Good morning, Monique.
Good morning, everyone.
Please take us through your report.
Certainly. I am going to start the report on page 10. I'm just setting the stage and talking about the general level of interest rates. As you know, we have been in a period of expectation, waiting for the Fed Open Market Committee to reduce rates throughout the year. We actually had a 0.25 percentage point rate cut at the October 29th meeting. The new federal funds rate is in the new range of 3.75% to 4%. On this chart on page 10 of the packet, I want to focus on the 2-year Treasury, which is currently floating at a rate range of 3.57%, and that's actually consistent with where the rate sits today. And so what we've seen is that, rates over the past few months have essentially moderated, and I think are sort of sat in expectation of where the market expects it to be. That's notable because there has been some dissent amongst Federal Open Market Committee members in terms of where the future rate range is to be. Earlier in the year, we expected another rate cut perhaps in December. That is now looking less likely. The unemployment numbers were released just today before the meetings commenced this morning. We now have an unemployment rate at 4.4%. The September jobs print showed an add of 119,000 jobs, which was ahead of expectations. The expectation was for 50,000 jobs. Now, what does that mean practically? It means that perhaps the Fed doesn't have to act as expeditiously in cutting rates to promote growth. And then we also have the other side of the equation, which is inflation. In other words, do we need to continue to slow down the economy? Now, interestingly enough, I think there has been some admittance from the Trump administration that tariffs are in some ways inflationary. We saw over the past few weeks that he sought to trim the tariff rates on certain products, beef, banana, coffee, things that, we cannot produce here in the U.S., but that have taken significant price increases. And so, on the one hand, we have inflation, which, is expected to go higher because of tariffs, but also seeing some of the tariffs being pulled back. We can expect the Fed might just sit solid on the current rate range of 3.75 to 4%. So I think that's the most notable economic news as it affects the district's portfolio. Things that you should expect to see is interest rates on some of your overnight investments coming down as the market continues to adjust to a lower Fed funds rate. And in the longer portfolio that we manage on behalf of the district, you can expect things to stay in a general range. And so as I go forward in the packet, I want to talk about some of the purchases we've made. So I'm going to go to page 16 of the packet. We've been talking about, really being consistent in the strategy that we execute on behalf of the district. And so you're going to continue to see from us investments out the yield curve, generally in the 2 to 3, 4-year area of the curve. We're working really closely with staff to manage cash flows. We expect to be able to lock in fairly attractive yields. For the most part, yields are still generally high versus sort of historical averages, but they are coming down. You're going to see less mid-4s, more high 3s on a going forward basis, but that is still fairly good income for the market. Other things we're paying attention to, of course, we continue to look at trends. We're being very careful about credit exposure. We're continuing to diversify amongst the sectors allowed by your policy. And we think that, you've been able to perform really well despite all the uncertainty in the market. If we go to page 18 of the packet, just a couple of things to highlight here. The portfolio still has a fairly healthy allocation to U.S. Treasury securities. You see that sort of bold 32% in green. That's where a lot of liquidity resides in the portfolio. We've been, again, working really closely with your staff to manage your cash flows. So maturity distribution has been adjusted and continues to be adjusted to reflect where you expect to need cash. And a lot of the securities in the portfolio are fairly attractive yields. The combined yield of the portfolio is essentially at 3.92% when you take into account all the cash. But we feel well positioned to ride out the rest of the year. If the Fed cuts rates in December, that would be a surprise. I think we are leaning towards the Fed not doing anything else for the rest of the year. And President Trump made some comments recently, reiterating his desire to get rid of Chair Powell. I think we can expect that when Chair Powell's term expires next year, that we'll have another governor on the board who is a little bit more open to rate reductions. And so we'll be watching that closely as well. All right, I will pause here for questions.
It's always fascinating. Are there any questions for Monique? Come on, you've got 1,000 of them in your head. No. All right, thank you. We appreciate that, Monique. Thank you for making it understandable for us and taking good care of us. All right. Thank you.
Enjoy the holidays. Thank you.
Yeah. Before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers from the public on this item.
Thank you. May I have a motion on this agenda, item number 3?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please conduct a roll call.
Thank you. The return of Director Snyder. We are a committee of the whole. Welcome back. I'm going to start with Director Devlin. Absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Hardeman's absent. Hernandez.
Aye.
Maston. Moulton Peters.
Yes.
Parr.
Aye.
Parrish is absent. Rodoni.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Thier is absent. Second Vice President Rabbit is absent. First Vice President Hale. And President Cochran.
Yes.
Thank you. Vote unanimous.
Thank you. We will now continue to item number 4A, which is a budget increase in the fiscal year 25-26 Ferry Division capital budget for Project 1940, purchase new vessel, and Project 2445 Del Nord replacement. The staff report begins on page 27, and we just heard the report on this at the Building and Operating Committee meeting. So are there any further questions or comments from directors? Hearing none, that concludes discussion. Thank you again on the item. Before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no speakers on this item.
Is there anyone on the line?
There's no one on the line like this year.
No one, no error. Thank you. May I have a motion on the item
So moved.
agenda number 4? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please conduct a roll.
Thank you. We're voting on item 4A for a budget adjustment, and it's starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Hardeman is absent. Hernandez.
Aye.
Maston.
Aye.
Moulton Peters.
Yes.
Parr.
Yes.
Parrish is absent. Rodoni.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Here is absent. Second Vice President Rabbit's absent. First Vice President Hill.
Yes.
And President Cochran.
Yes.
Thank you. That's your agenda item.
Thank you very much. We'll now continue to item number 4B, which is a budget increase in fiscal year 25-26 Ferry Division capital budget for project 2042, Clarksburg Ferry Service and Parking Expansion, Environmental Clearance and Preliminary Design Study. The staff report begins on page 33. We have also heard this report earlier at the Building and Operating Committee meeting. So are there any questions or comments from directors on this item? Seeing no comments, that concludes the discussion on the item. Before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on item 4B?
We have no speakers on silent.
Thank you. May I have a motion on item 4B?
So moved.
Second. Second. A motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please conduct a roll call.
Thank you. We're voting on item number 4B, starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Garbarino.
Aye.
Udice.
Yes.
Hardeman is absent. Hernandez.
Aye.
Maston.
Aye.
Moulton Peters.
Yes.
Barr.
Yes.
Parrish is absent. Rodoni.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Thier is absent. Second Vice President Rabbit is absent. First Vice President Hill.
Yes.
And President Cochran.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have nothing under item 5, so we will continue to item 6, which is to receive the annual report from the OPEB Retirement Investment Trust Board. The staff report begins on page 37, and Jennifer Minucci is here to present the report. Please begin, Jennifer.
Good morning, Chair Parr and members of the Finance Committee. I'm here before you for the annual report of the OPEB Retirement Investment Trust Board. So the item before you, as you may recall, the OPEB Retirement Investment Trust was established in 2007 to provide funding for retiree health benefits and other post-employment benefits for the district's eligible retirees. The report before you is an annual report, which is part of the compliance of the trust board. There are 3 items covered in this review: the compliance of the investment policy, review and assess the performance of the service providers that are appointed by the trust board, and review of the trust board charter. So for the first item, you can look at page 41. The investment advisor compliance certificate is attached for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Basically, what this table will show you is that the breakdown of what the asset classes are, and then what the targets were, and whether or not they're within range. And obviously, the goal is to be within the range, and they are. So they are in compliance and part of the investment policy and trust agreement. So if you have any questions on that, I can take that at the end. As well as the second item is to review the providers. There are 2 providers for this trust board, for this trust, the PFM NAM as the investment advisor, and then U.S. Bank National Association as a trustee and custodian. So currently, the PFM manages the assets, while U.S. Bank is basically responsible for the overall processing, including the investment transactions and the monthly reporting, as well as the annual audit. Currently, the trust asset value at the end of the fiscal year in June 2025 was $142.8 million. However, since its inception, the district's made $218.5 million in contributions to the trust. We've paid out $170 million in contributions, and that has allowed us $94.7 million return on our investments over the time that the trust has been. So, that's just kind of a comparison of what happens with the trust as the contributions as well as the investments. So in addition, the trust board at the meeting recommended to execute a 3-year term with 2 additional option years for U.S. Bank for an estimated total cost of $1.4 million over the 5-year period. This was determined to be fair and reasonable, and both PFM and U.S. Bank were determined through their performance review to be consistently performing well for the district. So the cost is reasonable, and it was approved to have the additional contract. Lastly, the third item, which is review of the trust board charter, there are no recommended changes at this time. So that is the annual report. Just as a note, Alice Ng, who is your Director of Fiscal Resources, who for years, or actually since its inception, has run most of the staff work and the OPEB trust itself. has, I don't know if declare is the right word, but has announced that she is going to retire at the end of the year. And I know that this finance committee has worked closely with her over the years. So I at least wanted to share that, as well as our appreciation for all the good work she's done. She was very critical in this, as many other things, but just want to take that opportunity to acknowledge all her work over the years, getting this set up, keeping it stable. And we have really been lucky to have her over the years. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Also, just wanted to note, since this is the last item, due to the earlier meeting calendar, you will get your October monthlies in December. So just a note for that. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Other questions for Jennifer? Dr. Maston?
Yes. Sorry to hear about her retirement.
Yeah, I guess it's the best way to do it.
I'm sure you probably are. What is our unfunded liability? Is it in here somewhere?
Well, I guess what I would say is that it's not so much unfunded liability as they look at the target of which that funds, and I believe they're between about 75-77% funded on the liability.
Okay.
And this is something that was created in 2007. So it's been a pretty impressive run of events. And I can't resist. The PFM that manages the investments for this did compete to manage the investments for GT TARP, and they were not selected when a prior firm that no longer works with GT TARP was. And for a 10-year period, they outperformed by a percentage that would have equated to $26 million more in earnings for GT TARP if they had selected PFM instead of the guys from Vegas. And yes, they were all men, and the firm was based in Las Vegas that managed those investments for about a decade.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Yeah. Just ask a comment.
I'd also like to point out that was before the current board.
Yes.
Thank you, Director Snyder. We want to get all of that someplace else. But thank you to Alice and thank you to you, Jennifer. I know you both always show up at the OPEC Trust Board, and it has been impressive. Those of us who started at the beginning went, and now, we at least feel like we have made some important progress, and thank you to both of you for keeping such close track of that. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on behalf of this item?
We have no speakers from the public.
All right. In that case, may I have a motion for item number 6?
So,
May I have a second?
second.
All those in favor? Oh, no, I can't do that. Yeah. Amaret will do a roll call.
Thank you. We're voting on item number 6 now, starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Barbarino.
Aye.
Giudice.
Yes.
Hardiman's absent. Hernandez.
Aye.
Maxton.
Aye.
Moulton Peters.
Yes.
Parr.
Aye.
Parrish is absent. Rodoni.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Deere. Absent. Second Vice President Rabbit's absent. First Vice President Hill. And President Cochran.
Yes.
Thank you. You have a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much. With that, we've reached the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I also have a second. Hearing no objections, this concludes the meeting of the Finance-Auditing Committee. Thank you, board members. It is now 11:14.